Floyd Money Mayweather, easy work. Like I said before, says he doesn't get full credit for beating Manny Pacquiao, and the critics are always going to find an excuse. We're going to talk about this one. What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Make sure you smash the like button. Also, subscribe to my channel for the latest and greatest in boxing if you want to become part of the gang. Notification gang, please hit the bell icon. Shout out to the Super Chats, channel donations, the Venmo donations, the Cash App, and the Patreon family. We working. Sign up for Patreon, link in the description below. Does help the channel. Or you can hit the join button to become a YouTube channel member. Now, I want to respond to Floyd Mayweather. He did an Instagram live. He has a quote where he feels he did not get full credit. I have some errands to run, so I'm going to try to get straight to the point and not spend too much time on this video because we know what time it is. Floyd Mayweather, here's this quote. It says, Floyd Mayweather doesn't feel he gets credit for beating Pacquiao. Floyd says, I'm older than him by 2 years. When I beat Manny Pacquiao, they said he wasn't in his prime, and I'm older than him. No matter what happens, it's not good enough for anyone. Floyd Mayweather on his win over Pacquiao on his Instagram live. Now, when the history books are written when it comes to boxing, Floyd will definitely go down as a GOAT and a great. And despite what people say about the Pacquiao fight, it's in history. So that's the good thing Floyd has working for himself. There's been a lot of detractors and old media like people like Max Kellerman, who agrees that Floyd Mayweather beat Manny Pacquiao, but has since went on record saying that even though he believes Pacquiao lost the fight, that Pacquiao is still somehow the better fighter out of the two in this generation because he moved up more weight classes, which is a flimsy argument. So, you know, Mikey Garcia is a better fighter than, you know, said fighter because that other fighter didn't move up 4 or 5 divisions. I mean, come on, like this is really a loose argument, and it just goes to show you old media the great lengths that they will go to try to discredit, especially African-American fighters. Floyd Mayweather deserves every bit of credit for the Pacquiao fight. You know, there's this old media notion or narrative that the fight wasn't fun. I had fun with the fight. You know, I think the people who per boxing didn't get the outcome they wanted, it wasn't fun for them. You know, why would it be? You lost. You know, the person that you wanted to win didn't win. So I can see how that would rain on your parade, so to speak. You get what I'm saying? But I had fun with the fight. It was a technical fight. Pacquiao was hard to deal with. I gave Floyd actually a lot of credit because it's not going to be Sean Porter, Errol Spence in terms of styles make fights. Pacquiao was trying little things, but he's always struggled with that right hand and pure boxers and things like that, right? So at the end of the day, it's never going to be the same fight. But I gave Floyd a lot of credit in this fight because he limited Pacquiao in a way we haven't seen. Pacquiao, when he lost to Floyd, old media tried their best to discredit Floyd because they knew 5-6 years down the drain of arguing, saying who was better. And then you had people, like I said, like Max Kellerman, who came up with BS talking points saying that regardless of losing, and I felt that Pacquiao lost, he's still the better fighter of this generation. So what is the point of having a showdown after 5 or 6 years if people like Max Kellerman are going to tell you that no matter what the outcome is, despite getting dominated and being made to look, you know, poor in a way that Pacquiao since hasn't looked against other guys, you are still going to give Pacquiao the credit and say he's the best fighter of this generation. Then what is the point of the mega showdown? It doesn't make sense because it means no matter if I'm right, I'm right. If I'm wrong, I'm right type of mentality. But the thing me being a real boxing head gave credit for is Pacquiao's punch, you know, and trust me, I really do this boxing stuff. So I understand CompuBox doesn't always tell you the tale, but sometimes it's dead on and it really indicates the type of fight you've seen. And this was the case. You look at Pacquiao's connect percentages, 19%, jabs, 9%. Some people even think Pacquiao has, like, you know, a crazy style to deal with or good jab and stuff like that. His connect percentage was 27 versus you look at Pacquiao versus Antonio Margarito, styles make fights. So Pacquiao looked different. Margarito's face at the end of the fight looked different, stuff like that. So you look at the CompuBox, I think it spelled out that Floyd's on a different level. He reduced Pacquiao. Look, Pacquiao landed about 6 punches a round, and Floyd doubled that. There's no way you'll win like that unless you get a knockout. So Floyd's genius level talent is, and his skill set is so up there that Pacquiao didn't even bring the maximum Floyd out. Like, I'm not trying to chump Pacquiao, but I'm saying Pacquiao stylistically, that wasn't even Floyd's toughest fight. I think Emmanuel Augustus fights were tougher. The Maidana 1 fight was tougher. Cotto fight, you could say, was tougher because styles make fights. Shane Mosley was tougher because of that second round. You get what I'm saying? Pacquiao looked horrible, and he was reduced to him and his fans using shoulder injuries and, oh yes, my shoulder, I bathe in the ocean for salt water, like excuses after the fight. But then when allegedly, and I still to this day haven't seen Wilder say this or seen the video where this came from, but allegedly Wilder said his 45-pound suit was too heavy, and that was one of the hindrances in the Tyson Fury 2 fight. Old media will swallow that up, but they don't care about Pacquiao making excuses saying that his shoulder was sore before the fight and, things like that. So we know what time it is, bro. But Floyd's greatness is evident. People saying Pacquiao's past his prime, but Floyd's older. Look at it. Floyd was born in 1977, right? February 1977. He fought Manny Pacquiao in 2015, and Pacquiao was born in 1978 in December. So, a year and a half or whatever the math is. So Floyd's older. So how can you get mad for Floyd for preserving his body by being a cerebral fighter, aggressive, very aggressive earlier in his career, having hand issues and stuff like that. So later perfecting his style and doing different stuff. And people always do this, like when it comes to boxing, and you got to look for the old media trickery. When Pacquiao lost to Floyd, they said it was because he was past prime. But then I thought he beat Jeff Horn, so he shouldn't have really lost that fight. And we know he just beat Broner, and I thought he won the fight. I was at that fight, and I was at the Keith Thurman Pacquiao fight. And Pacquiao looked good in those two fights, especially the Keith Thurman fight. I was really impressed with Pacquiao. And once again, Pacquiao gets max credit for fighting a guy in 2019, a young, hungry lion, Keith Thurman, power puncher, good thinker, good movement, good mobility, all of that. Power, speed. Pacquiao gets credit for these performances, destroying Lucas Matisse. This was 3 years after he fought Floyd Mayweather. And he's destroying Matisse in Malaysia. He beat up Broner, and, Broner kind of got gun shy. But then Keith Thurman got thrashed and was leaking in the first half of the fight. Did good in the second half, right? I thought he won the Jeff Horn fight. He dropped Jesse Vargas and beat him handily. He beat Bradley and made him do somersaults in the third fight. And then right before that was Floyd Mayweather. So again, if Pacquiao was so easy to beat, then how come since the Floyd loss, he really arguably won all of his fight? I don't count the Jeff Horn fight because I thought he beat Jeff Horn. You know what I'm saying? I thought there was a fight that never should have happened anyway. No one even knew who Jeff Horn was like that. So once again, Floyd doesn't get credit. He's absolutely right. Floyd doesn't receive credit for beating Pacquiao, yet and still Pacquiao has looked good since that point. Look at the Keith Thurman pictures that I'm about to pull up. Look, Keith was bigger than him. Keith has power. Keith beat Sean Porter and Danny Garcia, and Pacquiao had him looking like this. But Floyd doesn't get credit. So how is a bigger, younger, arguably stronger at welterweight power puncher and boxer puncher like Keith Thurman look like this versus Pacquiao years after the Mayweather fight? Styles make fights. You got to give Floyd props to that. Pacquiao looked nothing like this. The reason being, Keith Thurman fought the wrong fight early, and he was trying to walk Pacquiao down, and Pacquiao, caught him off guard with some stuff. And then he spent the early part of the fights, I'm assuming in a big fight, the biggest fight of his career, not having that experience that he needed at that level, like pay-per-view level. You see what I'm saying? And he was He had to work himself back into the fight because it started off real rough. His nose was bleeding profusely. Look at look at all this blood Pacquiao drew from him. You know what I mean? So it was looking ugly for Keith Thurman early. So he had that early deficit that was built. So this is the same Pacquiao that Mayweather fought. You know, look, someone said in the comment section, you destroyed him. Look, mustard shine. See? But Floyd beat him years before. They said he was washed up. They did the same thing with Cotto. Cotto lost to Floyd Mayweather, right? They said, oh, Floyd fought the broken Cotto, the washed up, Antonio Margarito cheating Cotto, or, cheated Cotto, and Pacquiao had beaten Cotto. But look at how many guys Manny Pacquiao beat after Floyd, like Ricky Hatton, Oscar De La Hoya. Ricky Hatton was undefeated. Ricky Hatton was undefeated when Floyd fought him, right? Oscar De La Hoya was coming off a Bernard Hopkins fight at 160. You could pull all this stuff up. The Bernard Hopkins fight happened at 160, and he dropped back down to welterweight, which he hadn't fought in several years, since maybe Shane Mosley or something. I don't know exactly what fight it was that his last, but I could pull it up, new medium. So again, Floyd is right. People are going to always make excuses. So look, Pacquiao fight. Or the B-Hop fight. Oh, actually, the B-Hop fight was in 2004. Okay, so my mistake. And then Floyd fought De La Hoya, and he was fighting him at 54. That's what it was. And then De La Hoya lost that, fought Steve Forbes, and then came all the way back down a division late in his career and needed, a rehydration IV and stuff like that, because he had spent too much time in higher weights. He has a big frame, 5'10 and a half, etc., and he was late in his career. But Pacquiao gets max credit for this. When Cotto stopped Sergio Martinez, people gave him credit for that. But when Floyd beat Cotto, they said he was washed up. So how are you washed up and then you unwashed when you do good things in your career? Same thing with Canelo. They said he was too young, but then when he fights Angulo and Lara, a year later or 8 months later or whatever it was, right after the Floyd performance, he's not too young. When he fought Austin Trout before the Floyd Mayweather, he wasn't too young. So just give Floyd his props. He's just that good. It is what it is. Because guys meet Floyd, and Zab Judah did an interview with Vlad TV. He told you. He said the most skilled fighter I've ever fought was Floyd Mayweather. And De La Hoya, all of them have said it. The only people who are mad at it are old media and people who want to perpetuate lies. Pacquiao is good, very good. I like Pacquiao. I've watched his whole career blossom. He's just not Mayweather good. They're both greats, but there's levels to skill sets and greatness. And do you think Floyd would ever lose to a Jeff Horn? Someone that Terrence Crawford also bodied as well. But with the Pacquiao Horn fight, it was even debatable. Styles make fights. That's what I'm telling you. So just give Floyd his props. He's older than Pacquiao. It is what it is. It's crazy to see the level of foolish pride that you see in boxing, where people, no matter how dumb they sound, they have to keep backing off the blocks and backtracking on their word. And they just have to keep this foolish pride going to the point where they don't want to back down off their initial standpoint. So they stubbornly cling to whatever they were previously saying. And it just makes you sound crazy. You said that Pacquiao was going to destroy Floyd. Floyd don't like southpaws. Pacquiao's too aggressive. Floyd, chin can't hold up to Pacquiao's power or style, whatever. Floyd's ducking, these types of things. But then when he beats him, it's always excuses. It's always excuses. And lastly, Freddie Roach is already on record admitting that it was Pacquiao's fight for the first negotiations. Take a listen.
When people look back in history, they will see that Pacquiao is the man that Mayweather didn't fight, rather than Pacquiao didn't get the Mayweather. I don't know, come across.
See, and that's media back then. This is an old interview trying to perpetuate a narrative. He says Pacquiao is the guy that Mayweather didn't fight. Like, how's it just Floyd's fault? When Floyd offered the fight and was down to fight, but Pacquiao refused to do the drug testing for whatever strange reason, right? And then Freddie Roach is doing interviews saying Alex Ariza was feeding him mystery shakes. You know, people want you to forget about these things. But listen to what Freddie Roach said 6 years ago in 2014. And he blamed himself and Team Pacquiao on the fallout. Listen.
I think people will say, why didn't they fight each other? And blame both guys, to be honest with you. Because the first negotiation, we were against the blood test, and it was kind of our fault. The first time, it didn't work. And then we came to a point where we accepted that later on.
How much do you think the promoters...
That sounds increasingly strange. Freddie Roach, the audio is a little bit hard to hear, but he basically said, Freddie Roach said that the first negotiations, they really were our fault. They were kind of our fault because we were against the blood testing, the Olympic style blood and urine testing that Floyd wanted. That is now considered a standard in the boxing. And you see companies like the WBC, they have this clean boxing program. But so why didn't Pacquiao do the drug test, bro? Like, that just seems such a given. Who knew that the fight would still linger on and be worth so much money later? So in real time, during this whole episode, how come Pacquiao's team didn't just say, man, we want to fight him bad. We'll do the blood work. There was like, oh, Pacquiao's afraid of needles, but he has tattoos. There were things like, we don't want to lose and give too much blood. But Pacquiao has since been on board and done VADA testing. So that looks, and it's always going to look increasingly suspicious. That's going to look increasingly suspicious because at the end of the day, you could have just fought Floyd and done the drug test. And Freddie Roach is admitting that that was their fault. Nobody told us to act this way, but we chose to act this way. And he even told you right there that we later came around to the table with that. So it looks bad. Why didn't you come to the table and say, oh, you want a clean sport, Floyd? All right. I'm going to whoop your ass. We'll do all the blood tests. As long as you're getting the blood test and the urine test too, so it's not a one-way street, we got a fight. But Pacquiao's team found a way out of it, and it labored on for years and years and years. So that's never going to not look suspicious. You can say whatever you want. It's not going to change, bro. It's never going to not look suspicious, bro. He didn't want to take a drug test for a couple years, and then now he's willing to take the drug test. Imagine if I did that. Imagine if I was working at Lowe's still and I had a job and I crashed a forklift and they said, let's drug test. And I'm like, nah, I don't want a drug test. I gotta go. And then I cut out and I go home and then I do a drug test. And a week later I say, okay, I'll do the drug test. You know, my job's calling me the day it happens, the accident happens. And they're like, come back to work. We have to drug test you. You know? And I'm like, no. And then I come back another separate week saying, hey, drug test me. Similar situation happened with Julio Cesar Chavez and his Danny Jacobs fight, right? Julio Cesar Chavez, VADA came to, these situations always look suspicious. VADA came to the wildcard gym, another Freddie Roach fighter. They came to the wildcard gym trying to drug test him, said, hey, you're slated to fight in Nevada, so we have jurisdiction to collect samples per the clean boxing program or VADA program to drug test you. Julio Cesar Chavez sent them packing after waiting for 3-4 hours or whatever. They sent different people in. He would not do the drug test. He would not submit. And he had whatever reason. And then later, interviews came out and he says he's willing to drug test anytime. I mean, just come on, bro. Common sense, that don't look good. You could say whatever you want. You could speculate, but you have to be an unreasonable person to say that looks good. That's all we're here. So you can, you know, I'll leave it to the fans to decide why these things are happening. But at the bare bones minimum, you have to admit, if you're a reasonable person, these types of occurrences look bad. You know, doesn't mean you did anything, but it could mean you did something. All that we do know is that looks bad. That looks extremely bad. But once again, if it's a black fighter like Jermell and Jamal Charlo, when they're out of town and VADA comes to Texas to drug test them, but they're in LA for the Fox Up Front announcement, you know, this makes headlines that, oh, the Charlos missed the VADA appointment and they weren't even in the same state. And You know, at best, I guess they were supposed to call Vada or let him know that they're going to be in a different city or state or whatever. But this is what old media wants to make the headlines. So bottom line, give Floyd his credit and we got no issue. It's my time. Let me know what you guys think. ESPN Plus link in the description. It helps the channel continue to grow, get new equipment, and, you know, let me know what you guys think. Floyd Mayweather versus Pacquiao. Do you give him credit? All that good stuff in the comment section. We working. So if you enjoyed this video and want more content like this on the channel, you can show your appreciation by going to the PayPal donate button or the YouTube support button, and you can donate any amount that you feel is equivalent to the value of this video. Much more to come. Thank you guys for your support. Boxingego, the future of boxing.